What's going on? It's Astronaut H, and this is the What More Do You Want Network. Now, this video, of course, is a continuation of the series of videos I've been making lately, asking how many games do you see this team winning this season? And in this video, I'm going to be speaking about the New York Knicks. The Knicks are one of those teams. Well, let me just talk about the Knicks last season, right? Because after making the playoffs and having one of the better seasons they've had in a few years, I mean, they go from 21-45 to 41-31, actually making the playoffs. Julius Randle is there, and he becomes, basically like their budding star. He shows that most improved. He shows that, okay, maybe he is able to lead a team in the right direction. You have the young stars like Barrett, and you have a collective of other players, and they all came together and they made the playoffs the season before. Now, you going into last year, as a Knicks fan, I would have been excited. I would have been very high on my team, thinking, they could be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. You put all that together, you get a Kemba Walker, you still have Derrick Rose in the fold, you get a Evan Fournier, you add and tweak pieces to your team. Obi Toppin is coming around. RJ Barrett is becoming, more of that second star. And you get, you thinking you're going to get an even better version of Julius Randle this year. But the Knicks did a whole 180 last year. I mean, going from one of the better defensive teams in the league to one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and having a coach like Tom Thibodeau, where he's predicated his coaching style always on having one of the better defenses in the league. And the Knicks just didn't show that. I mean, going 37-45, it just showed that. It just, sometimes in games, it just looked like guys were like out of place. Sometimes in games, you seen that guys weren't engaged, and I don't know if that's let me say this right. Players, after a while, I've seen it in Chicago. I've seen it in Minnesota. Sometimes guys just tune Thibodeau out after a while, because he definitely pushes guys extra hard. And by extra hard, I mean 2, 3, I've heard sometimes 4-hour practices and things of that nature. So a lot of guys, they tune him out after a while. I've heard. I don't know how true it is, but according to what I've heard, that's what guys do. The Knicks, to me, could be one of the better teams in the East. It just, for them to have that, like I said, that complete 180 that they had last year, it bothered it as a fan, right? It bothered me, because I know the league is better as a whole when the Knicks are better. It just happens. It just happens every single time. So this season, with them courting Jalen Brunson, so I've heard they were courting Jalen Brunson even while he was in Dallas. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle come together. They still have players off the bench. Emmanuel Quickly. They still have Obi Toppin off the bench. You still have Mitchell Robinson, who I like a lot as a defensive center. He's a great shot blocker and rim protector. It's just going to be interesting to see how things play out for the Knicks, because again, New York is one of the bigger fan bases in the league. New York is one of the media capitals of the world, so it's going to be interesting to see how all these things play out. I think Cam Reddish should get way more time. I think, he's one of the better, scoring options as far as like coming off the bench. If that's the case, I don't think he'll be a starter for the Knicks. But yeah, I think they should give Cam Reddish more playing time. I mean, Evan Fournier was one of their more better consistent players last year, I believe. 14 points a game, about 41% shooting. So, and he played 80 games. So he was one of their most consistent as far as health and, production. But I think RJ Barrett is the shining light, going from 17 to 20 last year. Shooting percentage wasn't that good. We're talking about he went from 44 to 40. And, I guess those things have come along. I mean, his assists and rebounds have stayed pretty much the same in his first 2 seasons. So I will definitely see where things go, and the Knicks definitely gave RJ that extension, so he'll be there. And I believe that if the time comes for them to choose whether it's going to be Randle or Barrett, I believe they will choose Barrett over Randle, depending on if there's a trade or whatever coming down the line. But you never know, because the Knicks, are they in one, like, this is what I'll say, right? The Knicks are still the New York Knicks, but a lot of guys want to play in the Garden, but not at the expense of playing for the Knicks. Like guys always say, I love coming to New York City. I love the Garden. I love the atmosphere. It's the Mecca. It's this, is that. But when it's time, like, for free agencies and things like that, you see guys like Kevin Durant go to Brooklyn. You see Kyrie go to Brooklyn. You see things like that, and that makes you question how, much of an actual impact that the Knicks still have on the league. With them not appearing in the finals since what we talking about, 90? What we talking about? 94? The last time the Knicks excuse me. They played the Spurs. They played the Spurs in that season, in that lockout season. So that was what, almost, we talking about close to almost 20. We talking about over what? How many years was that? So the Knicks have to do something to get their fan base excited. The Knicks have to do something to get the basketball world excited. How many games do I see the New York Knicks winning? I will say this, right? I will say, I think their last season was maybe a changing, maybe a changing of the guard, or maybe we were too high on the Knicks. But they have the talent. I can see the Knicks being a 42-win team, being in the play-in, being right there at that 8, 9, 10, and vying for a position to be a 8 seed in the playoffs this year, because it's all predicated on how the collective of Barrett, Brunson, and Randle come together. I mean, they could be a formidable 3. They could be a formidable 3 if you get Randle, averaging, 20, 23 and 10. You get Barrett averaging his 20, his 5, and his 3. But Brunson, that's going to be the thing, right? Brunson with Luka was not asked to do so much until you saw that he was what he was capable of when the playoffs came and things like that, right? You saw what he was capable of. So to ask him to do that consistently is going to be very interesting. We all know sometimes guys get paid. Sometimes guys get those big contracts and they just don't pan out for them. So I'm going to be interested to see how things go. Yeah, like I said, I think the Knicks will be a 42-43 win team this season. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. As always, it's Astronaut H. This is the What More Do You Want Network. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.